Very good afternoon. Welcome to our Vendée Globe live here. It's 13:30 here in Les Sables d'Olonne, a rainy day unfortunately here. It's 12:30 back home in London, and welcome to our Vendée Globe live. Well, Monday morning down under, it really is men at work down there. The three leaders are going fast, chasing a depression, trying to keep the pedal down on the floor and going quickly. Dallin, Rion and Yannick Bestaven, all quick, and now all are 200 miles clear of the chasing pack once again. 8 skippers are now across Cape Lewin. Boris Herman crossed this morning at 8:09 UTC, 20 hours after Charlie Dallin. Our guest today is Merf Owen, an internationally renowned IMOCA designer. He has 4 boats in the race. He has La Micheline, he has One Planet, One Ocean, Compagnie de France, and Stark. And so, Merv, welcome back to England. How is it being back home?
Hey, Andy. It's good and wet.
Well, just like Les Sables d'Olonne. We'll come back to you in just one second, Merv. We're going to look, first of all, at the standings, the classements at midday French time. And as I said, Charlie Dallin going quick. He was doing about 18 knots this morning. He's gained about 7 miles on Thomas Rion over the course of the last classement. Rion is second, 69.6 miles behind. Yannick Bestaven is in third. He's 73.1 miles behind the leader. Jean Le Cam in fourth. He's 220.9 miles behind Bestaven now. Damien Sagan is in fifth. He's only 2 miles behind Jean Le Cam. 13 miles separates sixth place Benjamin Dutreux from Sagan. 25 miles between Dutreux in sixth and Louis Burton in seventh. 61 miles between Burton and Boris Herman in eighth. 38 miles between Isabelle Josch in ninth and Herman, and 55 miles between Isabelle Josch and Giancarlo Padotti, our Italian, in 10th. Further down the table, well, we see that Alain Roura is a little bit out on his own. He's got a big gap forward to Armel Tripon. There's 806 miles between them, and Tripon is gaining 100 miles a day at the moment, unfortunately, on Alain. Then further down the table, well, there's just 6 miles between Didac Costa and Pip here in 18th and 19th. Kojiro Shiraishi, our Japanese skipper who we spoke to today, he is 30 miles ahead of Jeremy Bayou, but Jeremy Bayou is catching him fairly quickly. Miranda Merin and Alexia Barre are separated by 28 miles just now, 23rd and 24th, and Ari Husela, always happy, 27th. Place at the moment, doing 10.7 knots and very much enjoying his experience in the Southern Ocean for the first time. So Merv, you've been to so many different Vendée Globes. We missed you at the start this time, but this race is really shaping up to be a classic. We've got so many different types and diversities of designs and sailors in the top 10. It's really shaping up to be a great race.
Yeah, it's an incredible race. The start was a great start. It was good to see the fleet leave the Saab for once without any delay, and good weather for the first few days got them out of Biscay. And it's always a relief to see the boats out of Biscay, because as a designer or a team member, what you're dreading is a bad first 48 hours or so, and then to see your boats come back into port with damage before you even start. So it was great to see the fleet get away. And the Indian Ocean, it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. It's there's a low at off Cape of Good Hope, and a low to the east of Lewin, and nothing in between. It's certainly not like 1996.
Indeed, it's not, Merv. But I mean, we've got 3 boats in the top 10 without foils. Did we ever expect that?
Honestly, yes, I think so. The Vendée has always been about having a boat that's fast enough. You don't necessarily have to have the fastest boat. I think on a few versions of the race, we have had that. Our boats have been probably the quickest, but that's not what the Vendée is about. It's a long course. And the 4 boats have their day. They're incredibly quick. They miss out the 13, 14, 15, 16 knots boat speed on their polars. They go pretty much straight from 12, 13 knots straight up into the 17s and 18s. But there's different weather over the whole course. There's 3 races within the Vendée Globe. There's the Atlantic race, Southern Hemisphere, Southern Ocean racing, and the trip back up north. They're three completely different races. And where the boats are now, in general, in the south, it's pretty hard for the sailors to be pushing the boats to their polars all the time. So no, I don't think it's surprising to see good classic boats sailed by experienced sailors doing well against the foilers.
But also seeing guys like Benjamin Dutroux up there and also Damien Seguin, you know, sailors their first time in the Southern Ocean, not massive budgets, but they're up there in the top 5, top 6. Yeah,
it's fantastic, isn't it? And it's a credit to not just the sailors, but to the support team as well, because one of the challenges of these boats and doing the Vendée is that the sailors may not have been down there, but also the support crews may not have prepared a boat for the Vendée Globe. There's a lot of knowledge and there's a lot of thought that goes into that, and the guys with the bigger budgets and the experience also have the experienced support teams as well. So it's a real team effort to get one of these boats around the world. You need a lot of luck as well.
Indeed. I mean, the foiling boats, the latest generation, have we still to see the best of them on this course?
Possibly, yes, in terms of boat speed. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the Atlantic. Traditionally in the Atlantic, a good deal of the race is upwind and not right hard on the nose, but with wind forward of the beam. And the foilers are very, very quick in those conditions. Thomas Riom, for instance, his boat, unfortunately, he's damaged on one side, which is a shame, because we won't be able to fully compare the performance of his foil arrangement, which is a little bit different from Charlie Dalen's.
Good. Now listen, I've got a couple of questions from our internet viewers. I have to say that the number of questions that are pulled for you particularly is the highest ever. I don't know why that might be, but we've got 6 questions for you, Merv. And the first one is, what do you think about the idea to limit certain parameters of the foil system in the future?
Personally, I feel that we should go to the next stage with foils, that we need to allow T4 rudders to allow the boats to foil fully, but at the same time limit the control of those foils so that they're controlled by the sailor, not by a computer system as they are on America's Cup. So I'd like to see the fleet go further and allow the boats to fully foil, to make the most of their abilities. That's my view.
And supplementary to that, then, does that require a quantum leap in budget, or is that achievable for the teams who are operating at that level?
No, it doesn't. It's not a big budget thing to allow that. The technology is well known. The Orma tries used to have T4 rudders. The old teams have T4 rudders. No, there's not. As long as we don't allow computer control, then we'll get a good deal of the performance out of the boats without having to hike the budget up.
Indeed. And our second question from the internet, from Lionel: closed or semi-closed cockpits, what will the future be, and what's your opinion?
Cockpits have always been, to layout and everything, have always been driven by the sailors. It's really not driven by the designers, not in my experience anyway. So you'll have some people who like it, some people who don't. I thought Alex's cockpit was really, really interesting in the savings in weight that it gives, as well as the protection. But pretty uncomfortable in the doldrums, I'd have thought. But really, down in the south, you'd be liking it now for sure.
Good. Well, we'll come back to you in just one second, Merv. We had Charlie Dallin, the race leader. We spoke with him earlier on the day, and he was going pretty quick. Tell me how things are on board Apivia today.
The wind speed and direction are slowly becoming more stable. well, a lot of water is coming over the deck, over the roof, as usual. But no, things are good. I'm on good form.
Charlie, do you feel more pressure with the boats behind you being closer?
Yeah, for sure. It's not the same as a few days ago where they were 200 miles back, but not as much as before. So it's comparing the speed and angle is has more sense than before.
And how is the boat? Do you have anything to fix on board Apivia? Any jobs to do?
No, the Apivia is good, in good shape, holding well. My next complete check will be the next light wind section we will have, and I'm not sure when that will be. Maybe when we will be sailing past New Zealand. But no, everything is good on board.
And Charlie, are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying every day?
Yeah. I'm enjoying the race. Obviously, sometimes you've got lows, but I don't feel they last very long for me. So it's a good thing. I know a lot would trade everything to be on my spot, with the latest generation boat. So
cool, lovely. Thank you very much, Charlie. Have a great Monday. So Charlie Dallin, then the race leader. Merv, your thoughts on Charlie Dallin's race? He's controlling things nicely. There's a supposition a few days ago that he may have some damage. What's your thoughts there?
I didn't see him slow down a great deal. It's really interesting seeing the boats grouped up like that. What we haven't seen in this race in the south, which we generally used to see when conditions were harder, was that boats would slow down for a day or two just to rest, like a peloton, and then you'd find somebody else would take the lead for 24, 36, 48 hours. They'd burn out, slow down a bit. It didn't necessarily mean that they had a problem. It just they couldn't keep the tempo up all the way through the Southern Ocean. But we haven't seen a great deal of that in this race. And looking at the weather, it seems that boats can be in very different breezes over relatively short distances. It is a really strange weather situation at the moment in the Indian Ocean. Normally, the Indian Ocean is kind of hell on earth, really, and the Pacific is the quiet one. But it's certainly been a quiet Vendée so far, and long may it continue.
Indeed. Now tell us a little bit about Didac Costa and the One Planet, One Ocean. Boat will celebrate its 21st birthday in February. I mean, it's a remarkable story, and Didac's doing a remarkable job.
Oh yeah, Didac's fantastic. They've got hardly any money. He and Pep, his brother, prepped the boat. We did a whole pile of lightning work on the old girl this year. It was really in doubt whether he'd ever even make the Vendée Globe. It's his second time round on the Vendée. Last time he knocked up some cracking speeds in the Pacific, and he's doing the same thing again. But quite the man really is.
So you took the dagger boards out, I believe.
Yes, yeah, we took the dagger boards out, and there was a reason for that. The boards are old, and Didac didn't have the money to build new boards, and they've done an awful lot of miles. They didn't look in great condition, so we decided, well, we'll give it a go, and we'll just chop them out.
And how has that affected the performance, plus and minus?
Well, one of the strengths of Kingfisher, and go back to this business about the Vendée is 3 races. People tend to forget about the Atlantic, and we've nearly won the race twice in the South Atlantic with boats that led because they were good upwind boats. So I think maybe Didac is going to suffer a bit in the South Atlantic, but we did by pulling the boards and the cases out, and we pulled nearly 1/4 of a ton out of the boat, and it was the skipper's suggestion, and really, when you looked at the logic, it kind of made sense.
Indeed. Tell us a little bit about your other boats then. La Micheline is not going as quickly as you'd maybe like.
No, for sure. But Arnaud's on his own story. He always is. He does a great job for his sponsor. He's not in the game to push. He's in the game to get round and to tell a story. And that's just the truth of it. The boat has fantastic potential. I mean, it's got a carbon fiber fin. It's one of the lightest boats in the race. But that's not Arnaud's story.
But certainly, if somebody was looking for a boat for the next edition, given what's going on just now, that would be near the top of your list.
Yeah, she's a great boat. Stick a second set of second generation foils on her and get her going, because she's got years of potential left in her. Yeah.
And Merv, you've just come back from the States. What's the interest like in the Vendée Globe in the States, and what can we do more to get American skippers back in? Obviously, we've seen Rich Wilson doing a couple of editions, but are there no swashbuckling young talent coming through in the States? It's
difficult in the States. It really is. Of course, we've got the 11th hour racing team who are going to be doing the ocean race, and that's generated a great deal of interest in IMOCA class in the US. Well, I wouldn't say it's generated interest. It's kept the interest going. There's a story. There's Rich Wilson's story, and now there's the 11th hour story. They are interested in IMOCA. They are interested in Vendée Globe. Sailors do get it, and but getting commercial backing in the States is even harder than getting commercial backing in the United Kingdom. That's the story, really. There's nowhere in the world like France.
Indeed, indeed. Anyway, listen, let's go back to our internet questions. The third question is, with so many problems with foils, should they stay in the IMOCA class?
Hey, I think the genie is out of the bottle. I can't see IMOCA retrospectively removing the foils. Part of the reason is because the latest generation of boats are not foil assisted. They're foiling boats. The whole design is based on the premise that the foils are providing the vast majority of the righting moment. So I can't see IMOCA or the sponsors wanting to go backwards. I think the genie's out. We have to move forwards. I mean, we tank tested foils back in 2006 for the Ekova 3 program. And in the end, we decided not to go with it. We fitted interceptors instead because there is a risk. But the whole Vendée Globe thing is a risk. Foils have arrived on the scene as a result of the changes of the rules in 2012. And I can't see them leaving the scene. It's part of the game now. So I think we just have to run with it. And if we find there's been a lot of failures in this race, and really in terms of failure, it's been a pretty good race so far, touch wood. I don't think at the moment there's anything really, I don't think there's anything for IMOCA to be concerned about at the moment.
I don't think so either. Merv, we're going to come back to you in 1 second. We're going to look at the weather situation for the whole fleet as of today, Monday. Looking first of all at the weather at the front of the fleet, well, as we saw yesterday and still today, Apivia linked out, and also Yannick Bestaven on Maitre Coq. They're chasing the back of this low pressure system. They're just managing to hold on to it a little bit, but they've still got quite decent south-westerly winds. And they're really pushing as hard as they can to stay with it. This system moving to the east all the time. They're coming down below the level of the Antarctic ice exclusion zone, or in fact this is more the rescue zone along this area. So they're now coming down to the south, and they'll track down there. They're extending a little bit because, as you can see, the boats behind this boats, which we call the peloton, they're in slightly less pressure, and they'll start to be more dominated by the high pressure behind them. And so we should see a little bit of extension for the leading three boats. So say looking back in the fleet, just looking back here, you can see VMB, Maxime Sorel, a little bit further back, and these boats starting to be in lighter breezes. Back here we have Rowan Atanasio and indeed Clarice Kremer underneath the high, quite light winds, maybe 12-15 knots for them at the moment. So that's the front half of the fleet and the second half of the fleet, if you like. Well, we're looking first of all at La Fabrique, Alan Rura here, very much in the high pressure system, or the extension of the high pressure system. Quite light southerly winds for him at the moment. And then back here we have Arnaud Boissier and Stéphane Landrezon. Very light for them. In fact, they've got upwind conditions this morning. And then Medallia and this group behind Didac Costa, they're now getting into this nice little front for them, which is building, and they should accelerate and should probably gain back a few miles on these two boats here. And then this group at the back here, they've got another front or another system building just below them. So that's Ari Husela, and then this group here, Miranda Meron, Alexia Barrier. They've got this system coming to them just now, and so in the next day or so, they should get some good winds. Now then, looking at our animation, hopefully, just bring it up on the screen nicely here. So here we can see the leaders here, just to say at the back of this low pressure system, if I can just run it now. See the three leaders escaping, the low pressure going away from them, but they still have good pressure. This high pressure under Australia building all the time, and this giving some problems for the peloton behind, having to jibe downwind underneath the high pressure system. And we can see the three leaders now escaping along the exclusion zone, and nice conditions for them. And we should see this separation building all the time. But still the Southern Ocean, the Southern Indian Ocean, so much dominated by this unusual high pressure system. So that's the weather as of this Monday for the fleet. Merv, talk to us a little bit about the pathways into the IMOCA class. You work in the class 40s a lot, and I think I think Ari Husela had one of your minis once, didn't he?
No, it wasn't one of our minis.
Oh, right.
But yeah, certainly the route into as designers and sailors, that there is a route passing through Mini Transat and into Class 40 and then into IMOCA 60. Maxime Sorel is a good example of that, and he's brought his sponsor V&B into the IMOCA class from Class 40, where he was very, very successful.
And indeed, Ari Husela, I mean, I say he came from the Mini originally. He's gone through each stage really, and he's doing quite nicely on the Stark.
He is. Again, Ari's got his story. He's the first Scandinavian to do the race. And the goal of the two big goals are, one for him to enjoy it, and the second one for him to finish. Anyone who finishes the Vendée Globe has got a story. You don't have a God-given right to finish this race. In an average year, it's a 50% dropout rate.
Indeed, I mean he seems to be really enjoying it in the south. It's his first time in the Indian Ocean, and he's loving the speed and the power.
His posts are great, aren't they? And he's always got a smile on his face.
Indeed. Merv, just talk to us, what about your own plans? What do you have going on just now?
Well, we've been we're just starting on the new Class 40 design, and I'm going to be racing Class 40 next year on the TJV with a client of mine. Not on a new boat. We're going on an older boat, and we're doing quite a lot of high latitude design work as well, and so for high latitude cruising boats, which seems to be a thing for IMOCA sailors. Once they've given up IMOCA, they go and sail the high latitudes. There's been quite a few of them doing that. Isabelle and Philippe Poupon, and most recently Dominique Wavre. He's up there sailing in the Arctic.
They like it cold. Merv, anyway, a pleasure to speak with you. We'll see you hopefully at the finish for your Owen Clark boats.
That's my plan. My plan is to get to the finish.
Good, and we have a bet on, don't we, that Didac will finish on the 21st birthday of the boat.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? You'll owe me a bottle of champagne.
Thanks, Merv. Let's listen now to Alexia Barrier, who we spoke with her, and she's always seems to be in good form. She's had one or two little down moments, but she was on great form when we spoke to her earlier in the day. Hello, Alexia. How are you?
Hello, I am okay. Today it's more difficult than yesterday because the sea state is not so good, so it's more difficult inside the boat. I decided to slow down a little to make my life easier for a few hours and be able to have a breakfast and take some time off for a few hours because otherwise I would have been crazy. So I know that Miranda and Clément and Kojiro are super close to me, but it doesn't matter today.
But I think they're all doing the same things. We've spoken to Miranda and to Koji. Everybody feels the same this Monday.
That's a good news because I know that the wind will be stronger in a few days, and I think I should better save some energy and happiness to be strong when the wind will be stronger than trying to push hard all the time. I think when you are doing a Vendée Globe, it's not possible. It's not a Figaro race, so you cannot be as fast as you can all the time. Otherwise, you are too tired and you become crazy. So it's not my thing today to be the fastest.
Indeed, Alexia Barry is saying not her thing today to be the fastest, just conserving her energy very slightly for this low pressure that's catching up at the sailors towards the back of the fleet. That's all that we have time today for on our Vendée Globe Live. Join us tomorrow. Our guest will be Sydney Gavinier, I believe. Any questions for Sydney, please do post them on Facebook, on Twitter, or indeed on Instagram, and join us tomorrow.